I'm going to find out if David Krumholtz is actually getting huge residual pay from the Santa Claus movies. For decades, millions of families have made the Santa Claus part of their annual holiday tradition. Every Christmas season, the movie returns to television screens, streaming platforms, and family movie nights across North America and beyond. It's one of those rare holiday films that seems almost impossible to escape once December arrives. And whenever a classic movie keeps playing year after year, one question inevitably comes up. Are the actors still making money from it? More specifically, are they making a lot of money? Today we're taking a deep dive into one of the most beloved characters from the Santa Claus franchise, Bernard the Elf. Played by David Krumholtz, Bernard became one of the standout characters in the original 1994 film. While Tim Allen was the star, many fans remember Bernard just as vividly. His sarcastic attitude, no-nonsense personality, and ability to explain the strange rules of becoming Santa made him an instant fan favorite. Over the years, viewers have wondered whether Krumholtz has been quietly collecting enormous residual checks, while the movie continues to dominate holiday television. After all, the Santa Claus has been airing for more than 30 years. That's a lot of Christmases. That's a lot of broadcasts. That's a lot of streaming views. So surely the checks must be huge, right? Well, the truth might surprise you. Before we answer that question, let's talk about why people assume actors receive massive residual payments in the first place. The idea comes from stories we've heard throughout Hollywood history. We've all heard about television stars who continue making money decades after their shows ended. Actors from legendary sitcoms sometimes receive substantial residual payments because their programs continue generating revenue through syndication deals, international broadcasts, streaming agreements, and cable reruns. When people hear those stories, they often assume every actor from every successful production enjoys the same financial benefits. But Hollywood doesn't work that way. Residual payments are incredibly complicated. They depend on contracts. They depend on union agreements. They depend on distribution methods. They depend on when a project was made. And perhaps most importantly, they depend on where an actor falls within the cast hierarchy. The reality is that two actors appearing in the exact same movie can receive dramatically different long-term compensation. That's why estimating residual income from the outside is almost impossible. Now let's go back to the beginning. In 1994, The Santa Claus arrived in theaters and became a major success. The movie introduced audiences to Scott Calvin, an ordinary man who accidentally causes Santa Claus to fall from his roof and then discovers he must take over the role himself. The film mixed comedy, fantasy, and holiday spirit in a way that connected with audiences of all ages. But alongside Tim Allen's performance, another character quickly became a fan favorite, Bernard. Unlike the other elves, Bernard seemed older, smarter, more confident. He wasn't impressed by Scott Calvin's confusion. Instead, he acted as the North Pole's unofficial manager, explaining the rules and keeping everything running smoothly. David Krumholtz brought a unique energy to the role. He wasn't playing Bernard as a cute or magical character. He played him almost like an exhausted supervisor trying to train a difficult new employee. That approach helped Bernard stand out. Many fans considered him one of the best parts of the movie. As the years passed, the franchise expanded. Krumholtz returned for the Santa Claus 2 and later reprised the character in Disney's streaming series The Santa Clauses. Because Bernard remained so popular, viewers naturally assumed Krumholtz must have benefited financially from the franchise's continued success. And honestly, it's an understandable assumption. The movie plays every holiday season. People still buy merchandise. Streaming platforms continue offering the films. New generations keep discovering Bernard every year. From the outside, it looks like the perfect setup for endless residual income. But recently, Krumholtz revealed something that shocked many fans. According to the actor himself, his residual payments from the Santa Claus franchise are nowhere near what people imagine. In fact, he explained that the payments have become extremely small over time. The reason has to do with how residual structures are designed. Many people think actors receive the same payment every time a movie airs. That isn't typically how it works. Residual formulas often decrease over time. As years pass and additional broadcasts occur, the payments can become progressively smaller. Krumholtz explained that when the films were newer, the residual checks were much better. But decades later, those payments have diminished significantly. And then came the number that stunned fans. According to Krumholtz, he now receives approximately $150 per year from the Santa Claus franchise. Yes, per year. Not per airing. Not per month. Per year. For many people, That figure seemed impossible to believe. How could someone from one of the most beloved Christmas movies ever made receive such a relatively small amount? The answer lies in the complicated world of entertainment economics. When the Santa Claus was released, streaming services didn't exist. Nobody was negotiating contracts based on Disney+. Nobody was predicting the modern streaming landscape. The industry operated under an entirely different system. As media distribution evolved, many older contracts didn't fully anticipate the way audiences would consume content decades later. This issue has become one of the biggest topics in Hollywood labor discussions. Actors and writers have frequently argued that traditional residual structures weren't designed for the streaming era. Many performers believe the current system doesn't adequately compensate them when older content continues attracting massive audiences online. Whether those concerns apply specifically to Krumholtz's contract isn't publicly known, but the broader industry debate helps explain why residual payments often fail to match public expectations. Another factor is star power. While Bernard is beloved, David Krumholtz wasn't the lead actor. Tim Allen was the face of the franchise. Lead actors often negotiate very different compensation packages than supporting performers. Even if a supporting character becomes iconic, that doesn't automatically translate into enormous residual earnings. This distinction surprises many fans. People often assume popularity equals profit, but in Hollywood, contracts matter more than popularity. A character can become legendary, while the actor behind that character receives far less financial benefit than audiences expect. And that's exactly why stories like Krumholtz capture so much attention. They challenge our assumptions about fame. From the outside, appearing in a beloved holiday classic seems like a guaranteed path to lifelong wealth. The reality is often far more complicated. What's particularly interesting is that Krumholtz doesn't appear bitter about the situation. Instead, he has spoken openly about how residuals work and why people misunderstand them. His comments offered fans a rare glimpse behind the curtain of Hollywood finances. Most actors don't discuss these topics publicly. Many simply allow the myths to continue. Krumholtz chose a different approach. By revealing the approximate amount he receives, he gave audiences a much clearer understanding of how residual systems actually function. The reaction online was immediate. Many fans expressed disbelief. Others said they always suspected residual payments were smaller than people imagined. Some pointed out that 30 years have passed since the movie's release. Others argued that a film generating ongoing value should provide greater compensation to performers. The discussion quickly became larger than just David Krumholtz. It became a conversation about the entire entertainment industry. Who benefits when classic movies continue generating revenue? How should performers be compensated? And what happens when older contracts collide with modern technology? Those questions remain controversial. But regardless of where someone stands on the issue, Krumholtz's story highlights an important reality. Being part of a famous movie doesn't necessarily mean receiving massive checks forever. Sometimes the public perception is dramatically different from reality. What's fascinating is that Bernard remains enormously popular despite all these years. In some ways, the character's legacy has grown stronger with time. Many younger viewers discover the Santa Claus through streaming. Parents introduce the movie to their children. Holiday marathons continue bringing the film back every December. And Bernard consistently ranks among the most memorable characters in the franchise. That kind of cultural staying power is rare. Very few movie characters remain relevant across multiple generations. Yet Bernard has managed to do exactly that. Krumholtz eventually returned to the role in the Santa Clauses series, giving longtime fans an opportunity to reconnect with one of the franchise's most beloved figures. The return was celebrated by fans who had wondered what happened to Bernard after his absence from later installments. It also served as a reminder of just how important the character had become to the franchise's mythology. Ironically, Bernard's popularity may be stronger today than it was when the original film was first released. Social media has introduced the character to entirely new audiences. Memes, clips, nostalgia posts, and fan discussions continue keeping Bernard alive in popular culture. Yet despite all that visibility, the financial reality remains surprisingly modest. So, is David Krumholtz getting huge residual pay from the Santa Claus movies? Based on his own recent comments, the answer appears to be no. While he still receives residual payments, they are reportedly minimal compared to what many fans assume. The number he cited, roughly $150 annually, is a far cry from the massive holiday windfall that people often imagine. In some ways, that revelation makes the story even more interesting, because it exposes the difference between Hollywood mythology and Hollywood reality. The mythology says that appearing in a classic movie guarantees endless riches. The reality is that contracts, unions, distribution systems, and industry economics often produce a very different outcome. David Krumholtz's experience is a perfect example. He helped create one of the most enduring holiday classics ever made. His character remains beloved. His performance continues entertaining audiences every Christmas season. Yet the residual payments connected to that success are far smaller than most people would ever guess. And that's what makes this story so fascinating. Sometimes the biggest Hollywood surprises aren't found on screen. They're hidden inside the paycheck. Thanks for the watching and subscribe.